Welcome to Real Estate Riches, where Kathy Burns empowers realtors to achieve the success they've always dreamed of. Starting her career at 55, Kathy built a thriving business that offers the freedom of time and financial independence. And now she's sharing her journey to help others do the same. Whether new to the industry or looking to level up, this channel is your hub for proven strategies, inspiring stories, and the tools you need to grow your real estate business. Join Kathy each week to explore global opportunities, successful systems, and expert insights to take your career to the next level. Get comfortable, pick a video, and start learning. Your journey to success starts now.
Hey everybody, I'm Kathy Burns and I'm here with Real Estate Riches, and I got Brandy Pennington all the way up in Alaska here, just right off COVID, so she's struggling a little bit. I have had a cold myself, so you're getting us raw. That's what realtors do. We're just doing it. So, hey Brandy, how are you?
Great. I love the introduction. You're right. That's what we do. We just do it. So again, for you and for your listeners, I have two busted eardrums. So I'm having a hard time with tonality. So if I get loud, it's not that I'm meaning to, and it's just that I can't fluctuate very well, or it fluctuates a lot. So doing great here in Alaska. I've got 5 little boys we were talking about just a few minutes ago. Alaska is the 49th state in the union. Our economy right now is predominantly oil. The United States government has over 66 sanctions on our community for resource development. So real estate as a whole has not been incredible. And so it's unfortunate that the federal government has so much oversight over Alaska, but hopefully in the future, those sanctions will be lifted and we can do resource development, which will bring in more housing opportunity. And Alaska is sort of the perfect petri dish for a lot of things, including what happens when you have too much state and federal land. So you look at Alaska as a whole, and it is larger than most states combined, right? Like if you put it on a map,
Right.
The United States, Alaska would take up this big chunk right here.
Wow.
So unfortunately, the way our Constitution was set up, we have less than 1% of that land available to private development, which means that people spend a lot of money when they come here to buy a home if they can find a home.
If they can even find one.
Right,
So
exactly.
is real estate your full-time business?
It is. Yep. I've been in real estate full-time 15 years. In our community, the average real estate professional will sell 6 homes a year. A top producer is 20. In my prime, I was probably selling about 90 to 100. So
100 homes?
Yeah, a year. So, and that was just me. I had no team. So it was myself and an assistant, and then one other person that would come in the office and help us take care of stuff. I guess at my prime, I had 5 employees, but I realized at that point is that I was just hiring someone to take care of a problem that someone else in my office didn't want to take care of. This is like real talk, right? That became an issue for me. And then it just burned me out because, I'm 35, 37 years old, responsible for $40,000 a month in payroll.
Oh.
And I know, I was kidding. I allowed my staff to run the show, and that's not the way it works. So we had some interesting experiences at that point, and then just I decided to scale down a little bit, and then COVID happened, and I think that blew up a lot of businesses in a lot of different aspects. For some real estate professionals, they blew up and grew, and others it was sort of like this implosion of like, now we're here sort of post COVID after the in the rubble. How do we rebrand? How do we pull ourselves back up? How do we get to where we were, and do we even want to be there? So it's kind of the questions I've been mulling through myself as I work on, frankly, diversifying our offerings in our office, and I'm becoming a licensed appraiser to do that.
Interesting. Yep. So that's what I was thinking. When you said 100 homes, I was thinking, how are you even able to sell 100 homes? Were there even 100 homes out there? I'm thinking it's so much smaller that I never did more than 27.
I've been blessed with the ability to carry a heavy workload. And then I have a system and process that allows me to frankly function in our office and put our clients through a seamless transaction. And, the most difficult, I think a lot of real estate professionals could probably rally to this, is that the most challenging aspect of your transaction is sometimes the other real estate professional. It's not the seller, it's not the buyer, it's the other person. It's such a fascinating business where you have 4 generations negotiating or effectively trying to reach the same outcome, all with different, not just generational desires and approaches to negotiation and business, like professionalism in the business world, but also their own goals for the outcome. Like, For this lawsuit that's going through, this started out antitrust. However, this ended up starting, which I have my own theories on, so misguided,
So
so
misguided.
Yep.
And what a mess as a result. Don't even get me
Absolutely.
started on that path. But I see a lot of agents that, like in the beginning, it was hard for me to figure out, like, what are we doing here? You know, none of it made sense. And you get in the reality of doing the business, you're so tripped up. And different companies having different ideas of how they're supposed to do it. There is no consistency.
Oh,
And
no.
oh my gosh, we have a form here called a 220, and that's where the seller can stipulate what they're going to offer. And ideally, they sign it. Well, I want it signed before I'm bringing you somebody. I want to know that you're going to pay me. Well, one company here only says, well, the agents are the only ones that need to sign that. And I go, the agent isn't liable to pay me. No, I want the seller to sign it before I bring you a contract. And so they won't do it. And I'm like, what do you mean they won't do it? Then I don't know you're going to pay me. And now then it all comes into play where I'm steering if I don't bring them to that one, which is insane as well. And what about multiple offers? If I don't have that form back signed before I give you a multiple offer, and now I'm kicked out and I may not even get paid on the friggin' deal.
Or how, like, yeah, the multiple offers, especially because now it's like, okay, well, that compensation is negotiable. So what are we negotiating? Am I negotiating my opportunity to earn an income for my family down so that this family can get into their home? That screams inducement. Does that not say inducement of sale?
Oh my
Does that
God,
not say
yes.
inducement? It blows my mind. And I like here in Alaska, our purchase and sales agreement was written. We do not have a realtor owned MLS. They sold that in the 80s for for fear of a similar reason, like a lawsuit back in the 80s.
Interesting.
So states that like a seller is paying this percentage and of this amount or percentage or whatever it may be, as the listing realtor, agree to give the other cooperating party X amount. So we've already outlined it and people sign that in their listing agreement. They know what they're getting into. And I think it's just, again, a massive I don't know if this was, so for the viewers, we started talking a little bit and we were talking about Alaska and why it's so expensive. And I was griping about the federal government. This is another massive overstep of federal bureaucracy. Like they have no business meddling in private industry. And you know what? For anyone who may not be in real estate or anyone who's married or associated with people not in real estate, which is probably everyone, they're coming for you next. Like it doesn't just stop with one. They don't just stop with one. So in any case, I guess I could probably go on forever, but I won't monopolize the conversation.
Okay. Yeah, I don't want to get it too political. I'm with you though, completely. Anyway, so what kind of systems did you put in play that you've got it where it runs so smooth in your business? Because that's what people are looking for on here. Like, how did you do that? And obviously, the end result of you recognizing that that was not a smart decision is also important to point out here. So you created a system that was efficiency to get it through, but it cost you a lot of money and you ended up getting burnt out on it. So I think that's an important piece that people need to, here's my next step based on being a realtor in this industry. The next step is get a team, then get a franchise, and then buy a region. Bull. I don't want any of that stuff. So tell me what your vision was and is.
So I had a broker that I just, for whatever reason, I adored. And I realized at one point that I was the mentor or mentee, but over the course of a short period of time, I became the mentor. And it was, kind of a process of reevaluating my goals. Like, yes, the money is there. Yes, I can pay for things, but do I want to pay a nanny to take my children to soccer? Do I want to pay someone to take care of my own? I love cleaning. Cleaning's really therapeutic for me. Do I want to pay someone to clean my bathroom for me? Yeah, of course. Who doesn't, right? But it became like an awakening experience for what I really wanted out of my life. My system and process, I do a 4-touch system for my files, and it's amazing. And it's clean, it's consistent, and it's cohesive. So at any point I can look up, I still like the paper file. I know everyone likes the stuff online, but hear me out, real estate professionals. You need to have your clients come in and sign every document. And a lot of them are going to give you gestos. You bring them in because they will respect you. Your attorney makes you go in and sign documents. Your dentist makes you go in and sign documents. You, as the professional, have to make your clients come in and realize your value. And when they see that file, 2, 3 inches, whatever thick, they will respect you for it. But they do not respect DocuSign. They don't respect the e-electronic. At the very end of the deal, I can't tell you how many times I hear people say, oh, the realtor didn't do anything but show me a house, or I found it in an open house, and then they e-signed me a bunch of documents. They never even left their house, right? That devalues that relationship. That convenience devalues it undermines your value, basically. So I have a 4-touch system. We get all of the documents that we need from the file for the file. And everyone does their files differently. I recently tried to buy a home in Ohio. I am looking for an Ohio real estate professional. If anyone's listening, so sorely disappointed with my experience there. Really, I mean, really, like, what a time to shine. When a professional is helping another professional, I find that is like the greatest honor to assist someone who helps other people in this industry. So anyway, long story short, we collect, and maybe this could be we should do another meeting at my office and I'll show you how it works. We collect all of the documents we need through the home inspection report. And when I write that offer, I tell the seller, I will have the home inspection done within 48 hours of acceptance. And in our community, that's pretty rare. Most of the time, people are giving like a 2 to 4 week due diligence period. I want it done. We're one and done, right? So in that time frame, we have a home inspection, we have a radon, we have a mold, and we have a drain line scoping. And if it was prior to 1978, sometimes I'll have them hire an electrician to check the wiring and so forth, right? And then anything that may need to go on top of that after the fact, like recommendation, then we have done. We have a lot of the same cookie cutter homes in Alaska. So it's not common that we need an engineer's report, but that may be added later. Anyway, long story short, by the time I hand this offer to the seller's real estate professional, agent, licensee, broker, whoever they may be, they have everything they need to order the appraisal same day. So my client knows that when that offer is signed off on, they have 24 hours to connect with their mortgage lender, sign all of their documents, lock their rate, and order their appraisal on a rush. In Alaska, we pay like $900 for an appraisal, probably upwards of $1,600. That rush fee is $100 to $150 extra, but it will save you and your transaction weeks of return time. And I know it's different in every state. I'm in the process of getting licensed in California, and their appraisers have a different approach. Surprisingly, I've learned, and this may be a helpful tidbit for a real estate professional in the future, is that USPAP is not required to do an inspection. So they don't have to do a walkthrough of a home. So in some communities where they're doing,
what's USPAP?
It's the Uniform Appraisal Service Management Company. It's or organization. It's the professional organization that basically creates guidelines with the federal government. And again, back to the federal government, we live in a community where probably 70% of our employees work for state, fed, somehow they're employed, right? So when I was talking about the over 66 sanctions for development in our community, that's a huge hit, right? Because you've got all these people now who have jobs. Anyway, long story short, the appraisal, like if you're thinking about a career shift, might be something to look at because they have embedded their organization within the federal government. So they're not going anywhere anytime soon. Meanwhile,
the thing I can say about that is that seems very state specific, because how you're describing your process from beginning to even the middle is completely different from North Carolina. Our due diligence is typically around 30 days. And in that due diligence period, you pay the seller for the right to do all your inspections, get approved for your loan, get your everything done, and it's non-refundable back to the buyer. So you're making a conscious decision that you're going forward. Yeah. And I've had clients lose a lot of money. So they don't get to do the inspections till after they're under contract and they've already handed over their check. And
so the way it works, and I'm sorry to cut you off. That's
appraisal works in the middle of all of that.
Yeah, that's egregious. That is egregious because, okay, so that makes sense because I've had a lot of people say, well, I need to get an inspection first. I'm like, no, you're not paying anything until you have an agreement to sell. So in Alaska, that may be something that you want. Okay, so your contracts, I don't think the contracts I've read, they're not state bound. They're service agreements between a buyer and a seller, right? So I've written my own contract, or I've made amendments to my contract, or I have internal disclosures that attach to the contract that basically outline how we're doing this. And that's part of how I was able to close 100+ deals in a community where 20 was a big deal. It also gave me a lot of problems. I got a lot of hestos from a lot of real estate professionals because I'm changing the way status quo operates.
Yes.
but it was so much better for my clients. And because of that, I receive repeat, return, and referral, right? It's better for your client to handle it this way, in my opinion, at least up here. So write the contract. We have this due diligence period. We complete our due diligence period within 10 days. Usually it's within, like when I say 10 days, I mean like we've negotiated repairs and we're moving forward. So everyone's got a little bit of a responsibility because in like Alaska, you submit earnest money and it's held in a non-interest bearing escrow account and credited to you at closing. So, or, whatever, there's no additional fee that you have to pay to a seller or an agency. But with that, we also have the seller who pays for the appraisal. And I know that's not common in the States. That gives the seller some sort of sense of responsibility or obligation to moving forward. It's $1,000, right? But most of the time, the bottom line is, I guess it really doesn't matter where you're at in the country. If a seller wants to do business and a buyer wants to buy, there's a way to make that deal happen. And just laying all the cards out on the table is really important so that people can decide what they want. It's when people are holding information back or holding their motives back that it becomes difficult for us as professionals to navigate. But to get to the point of your question about how did I do this? I did this through a 4-touch system. First, write the offer, do the due diligence within 48 hours. Buyer gets their appraisal ordered. They sign all their loan documents. I even have them order and solidify their insurance. So their insurance binder is put together, right? There's no possible way for them to not be able to move forward within the first 5 business days we're going to know. Then it's wait for appraisal, wait for title. I ask title on a rush. We're ready to close in 10 days. I mean, my best turnaround has been 9 days for a financed offer.
Where was the loan financing? They just signed the docs for that, but they didn't get approved, did they, in 10 days?
Yeah. So underwriting shouldn't take more than 2 days. So the day they enter contract, I hand that loan officer their contract, every document they need. All we're waiting for is appraisal and title. And I tell the title company, I need this back in for max 3 business days. And I usually get it back on the 4th day. So
wow.
Yeah, it's a proficient system. It requires you as the real estate professional or someone in my office to be on it. And that's what we do.
So when you're submitting that loan documentation to the lender, do you have a list of things that you've already told your client that you got to have together that your lender's going to need?
Yeah. So, and I don't know how it is in other communities, but most people in our community come pre-approved. So when I sit down for your buyer consultation, if you haven't met with the mortgage lender, I will ask them to bring in their financial documents to me, and I will send them out to a couple mortgage lenders who I think are going to give them the best, that will be the best possible fit for them. So that can be if the client has, sorry about the light in the background, if the client has low credit or maybe they're self-employed, I will likely pair them with this lender. If they've got great credit and they've got a really particular personality, I'll pair them with another lender. I try and find the best match for them personality-wise, because inevitably what ends up happening is when you're asking, this is a real thing, right? When you're in the middle of someone's time, their family, their money, their home, that's their entire world. You want to make sure that you're on the same page with them all the time, you're meeting their needs, and that their lender is doing the same thing. Because oftentimes the mortgage application goes through the pretty face, the originator's face.
Yeah.
And it goes on to their processor. And the processors, I always try and tell my clients, remember, we're going to give the underwriter a name, Debbie. Debbie's had a hard day. Debbie just wants to go home like we do, right? Let's just give Debbie a break by giving Debbie everything she needs. Keep it all on your desktop because, it's gotten a lot better now, but you know how it used to be, they would ask for the same document 10 times. Sometimes I'll keep their documents with me or at my office, so that if there's something their originator needs from them, I can provide it for them. So we really offer full service concierge management throughout the entire process. And it's really worth it. It saves you so much time and headache. There's no calls at 5 o'clock during hockey practice that they're missing a document or something is wrong, right?
So now if you can close in 11 days, let's say that, is everybody moving out and moving in 11 days?
So that's the kicker. Typically it's done, we're ready to go. And I think a lot of people in my world have professional wise understand that when I write an offer, I mean business. And so they're moving their clients along. My clients, especially I try and take that same application that I use for buyers and apply it to the clients I use for selling homes, right? And every seller has a different set of motivations. Some want to be out at the end of the summer, some just want to hand the keys and it's done, right? So getting back to constantly reevaluating their motives and where they're at is important. But I have my clients who are sellers, they basically go through a process. I've been to prepare their home. So when they're listed, the only thing that remains in their home is the appointed or chosen furniture and anything that they're going to need in the next 30 days. And when I say 30 days, I really mean like 2 weeks. I pare their clothing down. I pare their paper plates, plastic, they're down to that. They're living in totes. They're ready to go. By the time they get the offer, they've emotionally detached. They're ready to roll. There's no like, oh, well, we decided we wanted to wait for this one event in the neighborhood. It's like, no, they're gone. And so when we conversely with the buyer situation, I try and remind that other real estate professional that we're closing in X amount of days. And if there's something I need to provide for them or help them with, I'm happy to. So like moving quotes, etc. Sometimes it's our file and our relationship is done in 10 days. Our responsibility to that transaction is done in 10 days, and we're waiting for the seller to move. But oftentimes people feel a lot of pressure, so they just get out. It's sort of like, it's psychology, right? So
Yeah.
it's like when you go into a home, and I've got a couple tidbits I think will be helpful, and I would love for people to pick this up. I get a lot of people who are like, why would you share that? And I'm like, because if everyone's doing it, then we have a better experience, right?
Yeah.
And it's not me swimming upstream trying to figure this out with other people.
Totally.
So, and because I feel very blessed and I want to give other people that same opportunity. When you go into a home with your clients, say they're buying a home and they're looking around and the house is stuffed full of stuff, what do they think in their head? They think, oh man, this is going to take these people forever to get out. They're never going to be ready. We've got time. Let's go look at 20 more homes. But when they walk into a home that's reduced down to basically 25% of the content value, what do they say? Whoa, these people are motivated. They're ready. We should probably make a move quick. It's sort of like this gambling theory. You get to Vegas, you're like, I'm not a gambler. You get in the casinos and you're like, well, I'll just try this. And I'm over here and I'm over there and I'm over there. I mean, I don't know. I've never gambled before, but I'm assuming it's like people get into this like bidding. Okay, actually, here's where that came from. The bidding process, right? So like in 06, do you remember the market crash in 06?
Oh, yeah.
We didn't see much of it up here. We have what's called manual underwriting up here. And so if you get a loan up here, you have to like go through so many hoops. In the lower 48, they do desktop underwriting. So they run your system through an algorithm and they say, based on this, you qualify for this. In Alaska, we have a lady, Debbie, and she literally sits in her cubie, probably at home now these days in her jammies, and they manually go through everything you give them. They call your employer, they call your landlord, they check everything. So if you get a pre-qualification up here, that means you really do qualify, which is why we didn't suffer so much that like other communities did. Anyway, long story short, back then they would have these auctions, right? And so there was a fourplex on the MLS, and it'd be on the MLS for like, I don't know, 90 days. So I decided I'm going to stop in and watch this auction because I've never been in an auction and I'm new in my career. And they start the bidding at like 375 and it's listed at 450. And it was, 390, 475, and people are still bidding up. And I'm like, wait a minute, why are they spending more? Why are they offering more? Because not only is it the bid amount, but now they have to pay a 5% buyer premium and all this other stuff. I'm like, stop, buy it from me right now. I'll write your offer right now. It went for like 520.
Stupid, but it is,
right?
it is
It's
seduction.
Emotional process,
Yes,
right? And that's
yes.
effectively what you create when you stage a home, when you have your clients emotionally divest of their stuff. They're ready to roll. They're ready to do business. And so is that buyer. So when it's time to get out, they're like, one moving truck and 2 guys worth of goose, we're done.
Yeah.
And so with buyer, the same process applies, really, getting them to the point where they're also emotionally invested. But in today's world, kind of post-COVID, it's really hard. There's this like FOMO, fear of missing out, right? And people are constantly looking at the next best thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know where you guys are at in your community, but we've got sellers who market shifts. I'm really, really, a lot of my success has been built on understanding market shifts. And I don't mean just trending like, oh, granite countertops are in and backsplash or
Right,
whatever.
right.
I'm talking about what physically is driving the market, meaning home buyers, what is causing them to move or not move. And so I've accurately predicted 5 market shifts in our community in the last, frankly, 15 years, which is pretty unprecedented, and positioned clients adequately. But this market shift right now, there's so many elements that are going into it, right? We're sort of settling into post-COVID, right? You've got a lot of people who spent a lot of money on their homes, and they're probably not going to get that price until the next decade. Because I don't know how you guys are, but in our community, real estate moves in decade patterns. Like the homes that sold in 2012 for max prices, they didn't sell for more until 2022, when we were sort of in our community, the pricing of homes, even with the interest rate during COVID, that was like 1.5%, 2%, that wasn't enough to compel people to buy homes. They wanted a home for like 25 cents on the dollar. They didn't get that. What they ended up getting was a ton of government money, which blew the spending pattern up. And I saw this in our community. We have this thing called NeighborWorks, and I think it's a nationwide organization. They do really great things for families who have lower income. Back, I think like, I don't know, 2018, they had $10,000 in grant money for anyone who wrote an offer on a home. And you could be in contract, right? Yeah. So what happens? These homes that were selling for 125, they ended up selling for 135, 145, right? Because now they have an extra 10, 15 grand to spend on it. And so those 145 homes are now selling for 225 because now people have all this COVID money raining down on them. So that caused a big problem for us. And that's when we started seeing these accelerated pricing in homes, because it was this perfect combination of you've got this money, which is going to come with a string on the end, but people were seeing it as free at the beginning, and low interest rates. So they were like, why not? You know, it's still going to be cheaper than what it was. And pre-pandemic, I'm not a licensed mortgage originator, and, you know, I'm not quoting interest rates, but I'm telling you what I observed. Pre-pandemic, 6.25 on an FHA loan wasn't uncommon up here anyway, right? So we're kind of back to that now. And what we're seeing are these buyers who grew up on HGTV. So they're wanting an upgraded experience. They've watched, gosh, 4 or 5 market cycles. They've watched their families go through like 06, 2012. They watched all this chaos in real estate. So now they're like, well, I'm going to give you this, but what are you giving for me? And every buyer has a different set of psychology. It's interesting to watch the term house hacking finally come to fruition. That's really where I got my personal start in real estate, was buying multifamily, because, you know, I didn't qualify for a home, but they would give me 4 homes in one building. I didn't quite understand that, right? And so the end result is, so I've got a sick little guy and he's still nursing. So he keeps coming back. He's like, nurse me, mama. And I'm like, oh, I'm on TV. You know, frankly, though, the crunchy mom in me, I wouldn't think twice about. Out of respect for you, I'm not doing it. But for anyone else, I'd have just latched up and been like, hey, baby, and kept talking. So
it's very different here. Well, there's a lot of luxury properties here, and I'm seeing ridiculous prices on things. The first one that I saw for 28 million on a man-made lake, man-made mud lake. And I'm like, because I'm from Michigan, where it's all the Great Lakes, you know, and I'm like, $28 million on a man-made lake? What? And I called up the agent. Now, it was a big piece of property for the area, and it was a nice home, but a dated home, very taste specific. It had 2 docks on it and stuff. And I'm like, I know in my head, there's no way that that's the right price. And I said to the agent, and talk about agent collaboration. Now she's with a different firm. I said, hey girl, can I come over with a videographer and do a piece on your house? She goes, no. I go, no. I said, you want to ask your seller? Because it was to the seller's advantage that I did it.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Right. So no, she didn't do it. But what I noticed after that were that their own videos were being captured and put all over TikTok, and agents promoting the house. So I came in ethically and asked her, but people did it. Now it's not already knocked down to 18. It'll drop to 15 because it's way too high. And I just thought, but that's one of the rare ones that isn't moving. I mean, $8 million houses go for cash around here. And now they're stunning. That one was really stunning. That just went for 8. There's 10 and $12 million homes, and it's Florida buying here. A lot of Florida buying up here. And they came from California, moved to Florida, and now they come here. It's
So it's a
interesting.
deal for them. I've been told so many times, like I'm basically wasting my talent in Alaska because we have such a low price point. I guess for a nationwide price point, we're about on average, but for a community like ours, for pre-pandemic, 375 was the average sales price. Now it's like 459. But for the quality of service we offer, you rarely get that in any
No.
price range.
You're
Anywhere in the
definitely not
country.
getting that around here. Even average price point here is mid-fives. And average price point here is mid-fives, but you can't hardly find one. Now my house, because I don't need a big house, I could care less. I'm a car girl, so give me cars. But my house is less than 1,000 square feet. It's a 1949 ranch. It's not updated. I could care less. But this house here still would go for 450 and less than 1,000 square feet. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I wouldn't pay it again.
Yeah, well, and to your point about every client has a different set of values.
Yes.
You like your home, you're comfortable with it. And I tell people this all the time. It's like sort of a nice way of telling them like it's time to clean it up, is that how you sell your home is different from how you live in it. When people are like, oh, you have to depersonalize, you just tell them like, you will not like me for the next probably 14 days as we go through this process together. So, you've got a couple options. One, I can come in here and do it for you. I can do it with you, or you can do it by yourself and I'll provide you the calendar. And it's constantly going back, and people love and appreciate that you're willing to take that extra step with them and that you show you care. And to your point about like your relationship with that woman, you showed her you cared enough for her and for her client to ask for permission for that. And instead we've got like you said, the TikTok thing, that situation, like you could get in big trouble in the state of Alaska for that.
Oh,
For
yeah.
marketing someone else's property was out there.
The photographer could have
Exactly.
sued
Well,
you,
that
right?
too. Yep.
And it's just funny. I think she was intimidated to let another agent in her property and that maybe I would sell it and I would get credit. And it's ridiculous because it's not client focus, right? And that's why I asked her, do you want to ask your seller? I would have loved to have where I could call up, hey, I offered this to your agent, but she said no. What do you think? Is what I would love to have been able to do.
Yeah. So provide it in writing.
You can't. I can't talk. We're not allowed to talk to the seller.
Well, so in Alaska, we're required, we've got this thing called the Alaska Real Estate Consumer Disclosure, where we're required to present all written communication in a timely manner. So provide it in writing. Also, like if it's important to you, which it may not even be, you just made me, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking about that content thing. It drives me nuts. The content situation is out of control. It cheapens our value as professionals, frankly. But anyway, long story short, if I were her, I'd be like, hey, or, in their particular circumstance, I'm prepared to help you sell this home. I want to bring a buyer so that you can tell your realtor or your client, I've got a national audience for you.
Yes.
I have these realtors in these states. So in Alaska, there's like probably 8 states that people most frequently come from, right? And so we will run ads in those communities for buyers on particular homes because it's highly likely that I've got this one home on the hillside, and a 1.1 in Alaska is a big deal, right? In our community is a big deal. This home screamed Texas ranch. It screamed Texas hillside, ranch. And so I marketed, and lo and behold, I told my client, you've got to put some Southern flair in here. I know everyone in Texas is cringing when I say Southern flair, but up north, you guys are all in the South, okay? It doesn't matter if you're in Michigan, you're down South. We call you the lower 48, right? You have to put that in. And lo and behold, their client came from Texas, and their whole, like, as they're looking at the pictures online, they're like, they just got super excited about that connection that had already been created, by us. They're like, it was meant to be. Because a lot of people, I hate to say it, but a lot of people look for reasons why that home is meant to be for them.
Yes. Well, and I do global marketing myself, and I'm always looking for global outgoing referrals. And you should think about this, girl. We'll talk about that offline. But anyway, I want to wrap this up. This has been great, very informative. I appreciate you coming on despite not feeling very good.
Thanks.
And I appreciate it. And I just want to say to everybody, I hope you got some value out of this. And if you did, subscribe below. And we'll have all her contact information in here so you can reach out to Brandy if you've got somebody in Ohio for her and in Alaska. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Take care.
So thanks for joining me on this episode of Real Estate Riches. Wasn't that great? I'm sure you got a nugget or two. I know I did. So if you liked it, please subscribe below, share it with everybody, make some comments. We really find that invaluable. And if you're thinking that you would love to talk about this a little bit more, let's schedule a business strategy call. I'll have the link below. Let's see if we can't mastermind together and see if we can empower each other. That would be great. So until next time, signing off. Hope to see you on the next one.